Hey everyone, Gill Gross here, post-match. Taylor Fritz versus Jannik Sinner, Indian Wells 2023 quarterfinals. If you're not here for spoilers, click off the video in 3, 2, 1. Jannik Sinner takes out the defending champion, 6-4 in the third to advance to the semis in a match where, for large portions of it, especially the third set, I was blown away by the quality. These are two players who do play in a similar manner. They bring incredible power from the back of the court off both the forehand and the backhand, and they delivered in that respect where we saw a lot of really fast-paced rallies with terrific ground stroke speed blended with a level of consistency that made for some really impressive showings. But all in all, Jannik Sinner dominated from the baseline from start to finish, even though it was a close match. I'll get into why it was a close match. I'll get into why Taylor Fritz won the second set. From the baseline, in the neutral rallies, Sinner dominated, and I'll tell you what, Fritz didn't play badly either. In rallies, 9 or more shots, Jannik Sinner won 75% of them. Jannik Sinner won 27 out of the 36 rallies, 9 shots or more. And again, I didn't think Fritz had poor shot tolerance. I didn't think Fritz was making a lot of unforced errors in the long rallies. I just felt he was outclassed by a terrific baselining effort by Jannik Sinner, where Jannik's forehand was the best shot on the court. Sinner's pace absorption was terrific, which is so important against Fritz because that's how he breaks you down oftentimes from the back of the court. Is Fritz is going to hit so deep and so hard that he is going to kind of generate the short balls via his pace and his depth. And Sinner was so good at absorbing the firepower of Fritz off the ground that Fritz was having trouble making headway, making progress, and producing those short balls with his power. I also felt that Jannik Sinner's lateral movement was a bit better, and there was more effective defense from Sinner than there were Fritz in these baseline exchanges. And finally, when touch came into play, especially from the more awkward positions, Sinner was always up to the task. Fritz sometimes not. If there was one shot that was really, really bad for Fritz in this match, it was the forehand drop shot, which, I don't know, he might have hit 7 in the match and 6 of them were really, really bad, where Sinner actually hit a bunch of very, very good ones. And in a match this close, that can make all the difference. So ultimately, Sinner really had the edge in the baseline rallies, start to finish. But if I take it set by set now, I will also highlight some of the push and pull and the tactical adjustments that both players made throughout the match. Really interesting stuff here. So in the first set, Sinner came out on fire, especially the forehand. Sinner hit 5 forehand winners in the first 2 games, averaging like around 84 miles per hour, something absolutely ridiculous like that. Fritz's defense was landing in the middle of the court way too often, but Sinner was hitting complete firecrackers. And there wasn't really much Taylor Fritz could have done with the way Sinner's forehand came out in this match, other than serve well enough to avoid the rallies, which Fritz was not able to do. Sinner's serve was in a really good rhythm throughout the first set as well. Again, in the start of the match especially. Ultimately, at the end of the first set, Sinner made 67% of his first serves, while Fritz was down at 56%. And Taylor was not hitting many aces or service winners, which again allowed that Sinner forehand to, I suppose, find a lot of opportunities to kind of take over the early stages of the match. The other key was when Sinner's first serve cooled off a little bit at the very end of the first set. Fritz was not able to make good second serve returns because he was getting jammed up by the Sinner body serve. Again, this is on the second serve I'm talking about. Jannik Sinner does a really good thing where when he sees a player trying to crowd the box and stand in on the second serve return, Sinner will almost always go to the body. He's done that really well against Carlos Alcaraz in their head-to-head. And Fritz was not getting out of the way. He was getting jammed up. He wasn't making good returns at all. Now let's go to the second set. What changed? Look, Fritz's serve took over here. There were, if you look at the statistics, there were far less long rallies. So in the area where Sinner had the upper hand from start to finish, it was just a smaller proportion of the points in the second set because Fritz's serve was so darn damaging in the second set that Sinner really couldn't get in the points. In fact, exactly 2/3, 66% of Taylor Fritz's first serves went unreturned in this second set. And on the deuce side, every single first serve that Fritz made was either an ace or a service winner. That's right. Sinner did not make one first serve return on the deuce side. Many of them were wide serves. When Fritz did get a chance to look at the second serve, he was no longer getting jammed. He put some really good second serve returns in play because I just think he got used to that body serve. He got to see it many, many, many times. And then eventually he was reacting to it much better. Maybe the accuracy was a little bit off on Sinner's part on a couple of them. And Fritz, instead of getting jammed, hit some good aggressive second serve returns. Ultimately, I don't think Sinner played a bad set. Sinner got broken once. He was not in any of Fritz's service games, however, because Sinner couldn't make returns against Fritz's serve. Very impressive in these conditions. I think Sinner is a top 5 first serve return in the world. We know how slow these Indian Wells hard courts are. So for Fritz's serve to really take over a set like it did in the second is pretty darn impressive. In the third set, that did not continue. Fritz's unreturned serve percentage went back down to 35%, which is a lot closer to what it was in the first set. So again, 66% in the second, down to 35%. And he didn't make a good percentage. The percentage came back down again. So it went down. Let me get you that number real quick. First serve percentage in the third set, down to 56%. So if you want to look at it from a Taylor Fritz perspective, first set, third set, the first serve was at maybe a B level, maybe less, maybe a B minus to a C plus, somewhere in that range. I'd say B to C plus. In the second set, you have to give it an A to an A plus, and that was the biggest difference from the Fritz standpoint. And again, it was so important because he wasn't winning from the baseline, so he had to serve great. Now, I got to give Sinner a lot of credit here, though, because that wide serve on the deuce side, just like Fritz got used to the body serve and started teeing up that return, Sinner started coming on to that wide serve on the deuce side by Fritz. And there were so many good stretch forehand returns by Sinner in this third set. I think even in the game that he broke at 4-all, he hit 2 really, really good ones. And that was enormous. So it was another case of just adjusting, getting used to kind of a more predictable serve. And then another thing that changed from the second set to the third set was Sinner's use of the backhand down the line. We talked about Sinner's forehand taking over the second set. Well, I thought Fritz did a good job in the second set to take Sinner's forehand out of play more often by getting the ball to Sinner's backhand. And when the ball was coming on to Sinner's backhand, Jannik was going cross-court, and he really wasn't making Taylor move enough because he was just kind of going cross-court over and over again. And Taylor was able to kind of get comfortable from there and take Sinner's forehand out of play. Sinner in the third set started taking his backhand down the line, which did 2 things. First thing was, it puts more pressure on Taylor Fritz's lateral movement, which is very, very important just to stay unpredictable and make Taylor move more. Because when Taylor's not moving, he's just an unbelievable ball striker. But I think what it did, and this is probably even more important, is it got Sinner's forehand back into play. Jannik needed to hit his backhand down the line in order to earn forehands. He needed to earn those forehands. And just the way the geometry plays out, when you take that backhand down the line, that is how you kind of create, you kind of bring the rally back onto the deuce side, where your forehand can come into play more often. So that was a really, really key adjustment for Jannik Sinner. So Sinner gets that break at 4-all. with some of those things on display. And that is all I got for this one. Really, really awesome effort from Jannik Sinner overall. I don't know that he can expect himself to play much better than he did in this match. So semifinals, he's there. And now he will play the winner of Alcaraz and Auger Aliassime, which just started. And I'll have analysis of that one as well. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.